Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to be linking to a Vox video which is about race and the fact that race is a myth. But you're going to say, but Tetsubo, you talk about race all the time. In fact, I do. I even use the term race, racism, and racist in the search parameters below in the tags. And the reason I talk about race is because the racists do. Because the bigots that align their bigotry with ethnicity or melanin levels in skin, racists, use that term. I personally know that race is a myth and know that we are one species, and I view us as one species that just happens to have a variety of different facial characteristics or body types or melanin levels. I work with a lot of Africans, for example, and I can tell if a person's from West Africa or East Africa just by looking at them. Because I work with a lot of people from Africa, and I know that there are different body types on that continent. It's a huge friggin' place. Just as there are different accents in America. We have not been here long enough to really adapt to different body types. Though I guess maybe you could say that Californians are a higher level of healthy people as opposed to East Coasters who are lower level. I'm not sure. We know that there are different obesity levels in America, so maybe that's heading towards that trend. We're having different body types. Who knows? But the reality is that we're all one species. Homo sapien sapien. And we have always been that same species for a very long time. And depending on what research you read, anywhere between 200 to 300,000 years, humans have been here. And I'm constantly plagued by people that want to tell me that race is real. But they're just trying to justify their own personal prejudices. They're trying to justify their own view of the world that says that the way I look and the culture and the society I'm from is special. We are exceptional. And we need to differentiate ourselves from those others. A lot of the time, it's those others are inferior to how I look and the social and cultural group I belong to look or behave. And one of the problems is that sometimes people will say, for example, well, the Northern European cultures were far more advanced. Well, there are reasons that the technical advances that were made in Europe were not made in other places at the same rates. But realize that Northern Europe went into a dark age that was not ended until information that had been preserved by the Muslim cultures made its way back into Europe. So, what does that say? Now, one of the interesting things in this video that I found very fascinating was that in America at one time, there were very hard, fast definitions of what black meant. You were black if you had a quarter or an eighth or a 32nd or even a drop of African blood, which is absurd because all of us have a drop of African blood because all of us are Africans. The human species is from Africa. Humans are African. Just as African as lions and African elephants and giraffes. Okay? They're all from Africa. So are we. We've just spread out like a bloody plague. Remember, outside of Africa, humans are an invasive species. I lost my train of thought. I apologize. But the idea that a group or an area of the world is somehow inherently better or worse than another drives me insane. And using your melanin levels or certain characteristics in your face is absurd. Okay, now I remember my train of thought. Congratulations. Talking about the definitions of black. So in America, there were different definitions in different states. So one state was a single drop state. One state was a quarter state. One state was an eighth state. One state was a 32nd state. So depending on how much African you had in you, if you went from state to state to state, whether you were black or not would change. Just stepping over an imaginary border, just walking over that line is boop, and suddenly you were or you were not black. That tells you how stupid race is. That in a single day you could drive in a little circle and change your race multiple times. Isn't that fascinating? No, it's not fascinating. It's absurd. And it shows the absolute stupidity of racism. I read a site every day called Not Always Right, which is about how customers are not always right. And there's some subcategories in this site, like Not Always Working, which is where people make fun of the employees they meet that aren't working, or not always educated, but not always learning, about people in school or teachers in school and how they sometimes get things wrong. It's fairly humorous. There's a couple of categories I don't read, like one about relationships or friendships. I don't want to read people making fun of each other like that. But just pointing out that sometimes people in education and on the job can have weird and humorous encounters. Those are entertaining. But one of them was interesting. In fact, I read it today. And that was that a teacher refused to accept that one of their students was Mexican. Why? Because they were light-skinned. But their mother was from Mexico. So that made them of Mexican descent. They spoke fluent Spanish. They were raised in a Mexican culture at home. They just didn't have dark skin. But not all Mexicans have dark skin. Again, racism. So how someone else perceives you doesn't really matter. Now, I'm American. Somebody says, hey, are you American? I'm American. Now, if someone says, what is your ethnicity as far as like where did my family come from, or how those families mixed when they got to America, I'll tell you it's mostly German with a little English, a tiny bit of Welsh and Irish thrown in there for flavor, plus a little Australian, which is so related to the German that, I don't know if I could differentiate it. But I'm always proudest of the Welsh. I'm not sure, but I always have been. I always thought that made me smile. But I'm American. I'm very white American. I accept this. And all the baggage and all the privileges that come with it, I accept it. But I don't think of myself as being a different race from my friend Al, who's black. Or my coworkers, who are brown or black. Or who are from Asia. I know people who are from numerous Asian countries, numerous African countries, numerous European countries. We have a lot of Bosnians at my company. I know people from Canada. I know people through YouTube, I know people from Australia. In fact, I'm putting a package together. There's a pile of stuff sitting right over there, and I'll probably be mailing it out Saturday. That's going to the UK, because I know someone there. Hi, Jenny. Actually, I have no idea if Jenny watches my videos. But we're all one race, folks. And I apologize, this has been a little rambly. Apparently I'm a little more tired than I thought I was when I started this video. Yes, I know, Mandarin. Life is so hard for you. But tell me, what do you think about race? Do you have hardline definitions? Do you think of yourself as Caucasian or black or brown or whatever the heck definition you want to use? I only use the terms because the racists do. Because to have this discussion, I kind of have to use the terminology they're using. It's sad, but it's true. Sometimes the bad guy does set the framing. And in this case, that's what's happened. The bad guys have set the framing. Because anyone that endorses racism definitely isn't a good guy.